Welcome back to the show, everyone.
The things we talk about just as we're hitting record are so funny. And then our followers are probably like, what the hell are they laughing at?
What in the hell? I
They haven't
mean,
said anything that's funny yet. We're talking about, just weird GI stuff that happens and how out of control it can feel. Yeah.
yeah. I
Yeah.
think Dana's actual term was to slip and slide away
The
from a
slip and
virus.
slide. Yeah. I'll tell my students this as I'm teaching about, pathogens. Your body creates a slip and slide to shed the virus quickly.
Sometimes
Like,
it's really,
never forget that metaphor.
sometimes it's really quick.
Really quick. Yeah, exactly. Oh
Okay.
my God.
So Dana had brought up that she had posted some memes that on her socials that we're really talking about masking. And we've spoken about masking here a lot.
Yeah,
And actually,
yeah,
we
a
also
lot.
did an episode on masking versus fawning and really talking about the difference between, suppressing kind of what you naturally want to do in
Mhm,
order to avoid being criticized or avoid being judged as masking,
mhm.
and then fawning being kind of more of a trauma response of
Yeah,
needing
yeah,
to people please so that you
yeah,
could reduce the conflict or
yeah,
the
yeah,
any kind of harm that could happen in your environment.
yeah.
And so, and then in Dana's comments, someone said, "Well, that's coping." So we
Yeah,
decided to add that.
the comment specifically was about taking notes or writing everything down to cope or to deal with to mask your not remembering things. And then someone had said, "No, that's coping." And then two people kind of got in a little bit of a good argument, like splitting hairs with the words. But if you're masking memory struggles, see, I haven't said it, mask it intuitively. What is it masking? Is it coping? If I know I have memory struggles and I start writing everything down to cope, and that got us thinking, right? And then you
Yeah.
looked up the definitions of the
Yeah, I
three.
I just I asked our friendly, Chat GPT, just what would Chat GPT say to differentiate
The
masking
three.
from coping from fawning,
Yeah.
um, which was fine. I mean, it was helpful, but I think it really does come down to the purpose of
Yeah.
why you're doing what you're doing. But so if we could just maybe cover those three.
Yeah.
Masking would be hiding or suppressing natural behaviors, feelings, or traits to fit in or avoid judgment.
So
And the
writing everything down because of memory struggles, because I don't want other people to think negatively of me or think that I'm dumb or can't remember things.
right,
That would be masking.
that would be a mask. The
Okay.
purpose then is to avoid stigma or
Right.
rejection or negative attention.
Right.
Coping, on the other hand, is when you manage your internal distress or demands consciously or unconsciously with strategies, right?
Yeah, so writing everything down, again, memory stuff. I can remember in graduate school, I wrote everything down.
Me
Like when the
too.
professor was talking, I tried to write things verbatim. And it really was to just have it fully capture. And I have students now that'll ask if they can audio tape the lectures. I'm
Mhm.
like, absolutely.
Yeah.
But that sense of trying to overcome, if you know that helps you, it is a sort of a strong strategy and it might be coping. Someone else sitting next to me might be able to remember things, everything the professor says. If I can't, I'm just going to write it all down and then do it later. It's a good coping tool,
Yep,
right?
yep.
Yeah.
And so the purpose of coping is to reduce stress, reduce
Hmm.
anxiety or discomfort.
Yeah.
And that can be healthy or unhealthy because there's lots of
Yeah.
coping strategies that are unhealthy.
Yeah,
But
that's true.
the idea there is I'm reducing my kind of own stress and anxiety about something
Yeah. Not doing well in the
versus,
class or not getting a
mhm.
good grade or forgetting something. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And then fawning, which is more linked to trauma response, right? Which is
Hmm.
I'm going to people please so I can kind of avoid any kind of potential conflict or criticism or
Hmm.
harm that could come to me. And that's really the purpose of that, is to ensure that I'm safe, that
Hmm.
I'm accepted, maybe even that I'm going to avoid confrontation. And so
Hmm.
this is when you're kind of over agreeing with someone or trying to over accommodate someone and really squashing what it is that you
Yeah,
even think or
to
want.
avoid the, or even colluding with them. Like someone
Yes.
says, "Oh, you don't know how to do that," and I can think of trauma response with my dad with his being an accountant and me not doing math in my head well, and him saying, you can't do this, and me just sort of either saying, distracting him or saying something like, "Yeah, you're right. I'm not good at
Yeah.
this," or
Yeah.
you need to try harder, and I lie and say, "Fine, I'll try harder," and knowing that's not what it really was. I just wanted the conflict to end. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting as we split hairs on this one, and I think the way to understand this is to understand the purpose of the behavior,
Mm-hmm.
like the
Mm-hmm.
purpose of the action,
Mm-hmm.
um, because that really helps to understand where it's coming from, or how it's coming, how it's
Mm-hmm.
coming, where it's coming from, what you're doing with it.
And it can
I will
overlap a little too. You could have,
100%.
yeah, yeah,
I can see why people might split hairs between masking and coping. I
sure,
could
yeah.
totally see that. It's
It was
like,
a, yeah, great debate. Yeah.
yeah, like I want to reduce my anxiety
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
about being found out, or
Yeah.
about my difference, or about my
Mm-hmm.
whatever, right? Like you can
Mm-hmm.
see how you could, there's an overlap
Yeah.
there. I find, for me is I fawn a lot. Like when I look at
Oh,
this,
yeah.
I probably do more fawning than anything
Oh,
to
no
avoid
kidding. Okay.
conflict. Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. For me,
That's a
like,
cultural press for you too, though, right? Is don't create any waves and.
yeah. Yeah, I think it's a cultural thing. I think that's, really related to my, very unhealthy relationship with my parent,
Mm-hmm.
like
Mm-hmm.
that is absolutely where that comes from.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just kind of thinking about it, it's so reflexive to protect yourself, to stay safe,
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
because as a child, when you have a parent who, you perceive to be unsafe or threatening, you don't,
Yeah.
especially culturally too, right? So not
Yeah.
only do you have the cultural layer, but you even have just the authority layer of
Yeah.
parent
Yeah.
child dynamic.
Yeah.
um I find that I do that a lot. And so it's funny because I was sharing with Dana that, I was just on a very, very long flight.
Mm-hmm.
And the person behind me kept kicking my chair and moving my chair and just like unhit un um unlatching the tray table and just letting it bounce open. And then they had an aluminum or steel water bottle, and they kept putting it in and out of the back of my seat and hitting the back. And
Oh
it
my
was
God.
15, because we had headwind, it ended up being like 15 hours and 45 minutes or something.
It's like a level of hell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think about 7 hours in, because like I could not sleep. And I would just fall asleep and then my chair would move.
Oh God.
I, the old Gwen would have been like, just Gwen, just put up with it.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's fine. Like
The fawning gland, or
right.
don't cause conflict. Okay.
Don't
Yeah.
cause
Yeah.
conflict. Don't make waves.
Mm-hmm,
It's not a
mm-hmm.
big deal. But the reality is, it kept building inside of me and building inside of me. And I was like, actually, it is a big deal for me.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
only thing that what's within my power is to make a request. Like
Mm-hmm.
that. And so I did. I
Yeah.
got out of my chair, flipped around, waved at the guy, and was like, and I was like, I probably didn't have the friendliest face because it had already been in, 15 hours of commute by that
Yeah.
point.
Yeah. I was gonna say. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm not feeling well. And I just said,
Yeah.
can you please be more gentle with my chair?
Mm-hmm,
That's the,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
by the way, that's the
That's
worst
as
that came out of
metered
my
as you could
mouth.
do it. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
What I wanted to say was,
I'm going to murder you and throw
what
you out the
the
window.
are you like, are you kidding
Yeah.
me? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
do you not have any, like, I wanted to just go off, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it didn't necessarily change his behavior. And
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of dealt with that because I think I had
At least you said
rest
something. So
it,
yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I had stood up for myself in some way, shape, or
Yeah.
form. But it did take me 7 hours of the flight
Uh,
after, already a first leg of a commute and not feeling well.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I just, it just dawned on me like, I don't like conflict.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really don't.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it's because it's, you talk about back to childhood, conflict doesn't, you can't win it as a kid,
No,
right? And
no.
you're stuck in that prison of childhood. I mean, I joke about it, but can't get out of that.
Yeah.
And the worry is some kind of conflict will escalate and then you'll get in trouble or it'll cause a worse problem, right? And
Oh,
that's certainly where I
yeah.
go with it. And it's just it's
Yeah.
sort of is like, it's not worth it. I'll just kind of suffer through it.
Yeah.
All those things can be operating when you're masking or coping or having a trauma response, right? I
Yeah.
mean, all those things can be operating simultaneously. The debate the two awake followers were getting into, and that was very interesting. And then there was also a wrinkle of it, I think, that fueled it. So many comments was the person who said, "Oh, that's not masking, that's coping." Was that it was coming from a dismissive of being autistic place,
Mm,
like everybody does that. That's just coping. That's not an autistic trait. And
mm,
then sort of this ableism came in, and I didn't have to say anything because this other follower was very articulate and put together a good argument and with just enough a little spiciness in there to, but that, so the nuance of what the situation brings can make you go to either of those three and they can overlap and they can be really complicated. If, as we dissect something after the fact, it seems so simple, but in the moment, conflict
paralyzing.
avoidance, trauma response, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you just get stuck and you can't do anything.
Yeah.
I'll have this sometimes in faculty meetings where I'm overloaded emotionally about something I feel really strongly about, and I'll just sort of, and that, it used to be me, I would just throw myself out there and probably wouldn't solve anything because I wasn't super articulate when I was upset, but now I just sort of sit there like, and I realize it's fawning. But in my head, I'll say to myself, no amount of what I say is going to change the situation. So why bother? I mean, part of it, and part of that is a little bit of a history of being victimized, but part of it is also like these days, like we have this, I'm not going to go into all the politics of what's going on at my work, but we have a union and the college isn't going according to what the union agreement is supposed to be. And then the union will send us all, they're violating this, and this. And then nothing ever happens. They never find a way to push back legally and make the university do something different anyway. So I'm reading this email last night and I'm like, well, what's really the point?
Yeah.
Sign this, sign. I'm like, pfft. So it wasn't fawning. It wasn't like a trauma, like I feel like I'm going to get in trouble or something. It was like this helplessness. And then we've talked about learned helplessness in here as well,
Yeah.
of like, why bother, right? And that can make it really complicated too, because you don't want to. People will say, "Oh, turning yourself into a victim." You could be, that could be a risk, but it could also be that you're like aware of your limited energies and you're aware of the reality of the situation, and you're done. And you're like, I just can't. I'll say it in my head. I'll say it to myself in my brain, like, I just can't. I just can't.
Yeah.
And so that's a more empowered place of, and yes, is that coping? Yes. Is it masking? Yes, but it's more like a choice made masking rather than one that's just happening. So
Yeah.
you can take any one of these three things and sort of turn it just slightly, and it can feel a little bit more empowering. But it's really, really hard to do. I have found
I
it really hard to do.
I feel like it's an override. I mean,
Yeah,
like with masking and fawning, I feel like those are unhealthy in many
yeah,
ways,
can
like,
be. Yeah, yeah.
or can be. Coping, on the other hand, really, usually has a quote unquote positive connotation to it, even
Especially
though,
serving you, like not the other person,
right,
but serves you. Yeah,
it
yeah.
serves you. I think like there's this piece of radical acceptance, like to use like a
Mhm.
DBT kind of, phrase, and not that,
Mhm, mhm.
that's like classically DBT, but I know DBTers use this phrase a lot, right? Which is
Right, right.
to have radical acceptance about something. And oftentimes we use those words with narcissists, right? It's like,
Uh-huh.
listen, there's no convincing a narcissist to
Yeah,
take accountability or responsibility for their actions in an
right.
interaction or a relationship. So why bother? Why try?
Mhm,
And that's
mhm.
not like I'm resigned. That's
Yeah,
truly I do not choose to use my energy on
mhm.
this
Yeah,
because
yep,
it's unproductive,
right,
and if anything is just going to cause more harm for myself.
right,
So I
right.
don't. And I think
Yeah.
that's a very different place than a fawning.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, because fawning I feel like is more reflexive. Like I find that it's like you kind of
Out of your
naturally do it.
control. Yeah, because it's that trauma response. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
more of a survival kind
Yeah.
of feel versus like I am actively ignoring, actively withdrawing, actively,
Yeah.
right? I'm making the choice to X, like, right? That can be really
Yeah.
empowering.
Yeah. Exactly.
And, you know, and not to even say that, you know, I know that many people mask also because of trauma related kinds
Sure.
of
Yeah.
things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The attention they might have gotten early on,
Hmm.
or continue to get, right?
Hmm.
And so,
Yeah,
at the
but
end of the
awareness is key too, because you brought that up a
yes,
lot. If I'm masking
yeah,
something and I'm aware that I'm doing it, then I'm like, oh, then I can decide, do I want to do this, slow down, or
yep,
do it versus it
yep,
just happening, and it makes all the difference. Yeah.
right, right. Instead of because I feel like the other, like the the partner to masking is shame,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
right? Whereas like that's not necessarily the partner to fawning.
Because yeah,
Like
because you're trying to avoid that social stigma, and social stigma is about feeling shamed for
yes,
sure. Yeah.
judged,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Like
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
being judged and there's
Yep.
something going on and wrong
Oh
or like
God, and
whatever.
it's
It's
so
awful.
unbelievably powerful.
It's
I'm just feeling. I can think about times for
awful.
myself where I'm like, why am I letting this bother me? And then there's another aspect of me that just got hoodwinked from the shame, and then I start worrying, and then I'll make efforts to like kowtow to that person, and then so
It's
you can see all
awful.
the stages of it going in and out of those three things. It's just awful. Yeah,
It's
really
awful.
terrible.
It's
Yeah.
awful. And, you know, for anyone that's listening to this who can relate to this, the override of fawning and masking takes a lot of work.
Oh yeah, and even if you have one, you think you have it down pat, just the
Oh,
right different
oh,
situation, and then you're back where you
oh.
started. You're like, how am I here? Yeah, it's so hard. It's so
It's
hard.
like, wow, they just pressed the right sequence of
Yeah,
buttons,
yeah.
you
It
know,
taken how many
to get
years
me
to get where
here.
you are? It takes a long, long time to make the newer way operate more fully. Yeah, so
Yeah.
be gentle with yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, be gentle with yourself, have some
Mhm.
compassion for yourself, you
Mhm.
know, and you don't have to do big things. You don't have
Mhm.
to, you know, I mean, I'm laughing at my turning around and, you know, in my mind and my fantasy,
Yeah.
I really went off on this guy.
Oh god, I can
I
see
mean,
those are the videos we see on TikTok of people getting dragged off
yes,
the airplane because they just
yeah,
lose it.
I
I now I
wanted,
sort of see why. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
what came out of my mouth literally was like, could you please be more
Yeah.
gentle with
Yeah.
my seat? That's all
Yeah.
I can say.
14 hours in. Yeah. Oh my
Not
god.
one
Yeah. Oh
like
god.
word that I would
Yeah.
have to bleep that I'm so good at bleeping because I do
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
podcast with you, Dana. It's like
Yep.
second
Yep.
nature, right? It's just so
Yep.
funny, you know?
And there,
And
by the way,
yeah.
there are other things that feed into this that are huge, like social conventions, fear of being arrested and dragged off, and
Oh,
everybody
sure. Of
filming you.
course. Of course.
It's those sort of things like that. Something could escalate, and you have fear, and those are real fears. You shouldn't just do whatever you want whenever you want.
Yeah.
Those are understandable forces from the environment that we're not telling you to just deal with it and get over it and do whatever you want, but just to acknowledge some of that, or someone in a position of privilege, they have that privilege variable. He was a dude that was sitting behind you, so as a dude, he's got a privilege variable over you as a woman. Then we get into other variables of privilege, and all those things have a very strong effect on that. Am I likely to say something to just a friend of mine versus my boss?
Yeah.
Those things are going to be more meter given the situation because of the implications that might come down and the power differential. So that's the other one of the other pieces that really drives home how hard
Yeah.
this is.
So
Yeah.
context, right? Like what is the
Hmm.
context?
Context. Yeah.
What are the what are my lived experiences? What are this
Hmm.
person's lived
Hmm.
experiences, right?
Hmm.
And I think especially during this very, very divisive time in our
Yeah.
nation,
Scary, scary time.
um, you know, to be able to understand that, you know, we don't act in a vacuum.
Right.
Our actions are a product of our lived
Hmm.
experiences. And,
Hmm.
for us to have any judgment about why someone comes, and I have to remind myself of this when I'm directly, uh, opposed to
Yeah,
something that
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
seeing, is like, I don't even understand how I understand this. Like, I
Yeah.
clearly don't have enough information.
Yeah,
And that's
yeah,
like something that, we need to work at. But,
yeah, yeah.
um, I had been trying to do all of this in my mind, by the way, for
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
7 hours that he was kicking my chair and doing the most ridiculous things. And by the way, not only this, let me just add this,
Yeah.
because I am very sound sensitive.
Mm.
He had a glass, I mean, a steel
Yeah, like the
bottle.
one yeah.
Okay. So it was hitting my chair, but it had ice in it.
It was like a sensory nightmare hell experience for you to go through. Yeah, yeah.
And I was like, everybody is sleeping.
Noise
This
canceling
plane is
headphones. Yeah.
quiet.
Oh,
So this guy was thirsty, let me tell you. And I could not
yeah, no.
habituate. It wasn't with any consistent pattern. It was just enough to be like whenever he
Right, you start
needed.
raving mad. Yeah.
I
That's the reason you got sick was the stress of that
lost
experience. Yeah,
my mind.
yeah.
In the meantime, my daughter and my husband, because I'm
Are
in
out
between them,
cold.
obviously I have the worst seat.
Oh my
Okay. Because
God.
clearly, where do I come from? Okay.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
gonna give them the
You get
better
the
seat.
scrap.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's right. That's right.
Um, they are passed out. They've
Of
been
course.
sleeping for like 7 hours. Like,
Oh my
they can
God.
sleep anywhere. Okay.
That's
And
so
I'm
unfair.
like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
on my third book, but anyway, so
yeah. God.
what, if any of this can relate, if you guys can
Yeah.
relate to any of this, we would love you to share any funny story that you may have in the comments, because
About those 3 things we've talked about. Yeah, yeah,
masking, coping, and fawning, and why do we split hairs? And I think we split hairs so that we have a deeper or greater understanding of
yeah.
ourselves.
That's right.
Maybe that can afford us some compassion and
Yeah,
understanding for ourselves.
let's hope.
Um, you know, or to help you communicate this with someone else, because
That's right.
that could be really
Yep,
helpful as well. Anyway,
exactly.
all right, everyone. On that note, we will catch you on the next episode. Bye.
Bye.